Welcome to Restyle Secrets, channel about restyling your secrets. No, it's a channel about reselling used clothing on eBay and Poshmark. So, welcome back. Or if you're new here, please subscribe. If you've been here many times and haven't subscribed yet, please do. It's free, it's painless, and nothing bad will happen to you. But it would help me a lot. So, like, subscribe, tell your friends, all the YouTube things. I am here today with a kind of a video about what's sold. So you can do, just a classic what's sold. Pick a time period and tell all the things that sold. You could do your top high dollar sales. You could do ship with me, what sold in the last few days, and look at the pretty packages. And there's a lot of ways to do it. And for me, they're boring to produce. And I tend to just fall into a drone, and I paid this much and I got this profit. And I want things to be fun and exciting. And so to do that, as a storyteller, I know, as a writer, I know you have to create conflict and tension. And then people get on the edge of their seats and they say, what's going to happen next? And that's what I was shooting for. And that's probably not, you're going to be disappointed, but I'm going to do, I took all my Poshmark sales in October, and I identified which ones sold in less than 30 days and in less than a week. And I arranged them in David Letterman-like order. And so I have 19 sales to share with you. I sold 51 items on Poshmark in October, and 19 of them sold in 30 days or less. And I'm going to share those with you in order of timeliness. Anyway, oldest, fastest, no, long, wow. The one that sold fastest will be at the end. That's the order they're going to be in. And of those 19, 8 sold in less than a week. So I'll be curious. What do you think is your brand that is your fastest seller? Just generally, that brand just sells quickly, and quickly is relative. Everybody has a different idea of quickly. And hold that brand in your head and see if it's made my sold in a week list. Okay? Okay. My first one, this is not my first one. My first one is kind of a cheat because it took 6 weeks to sell. But I wanted you to be reminded of it. I put it in a haul video because this was a new brand for me, and I'm definitely going to be looking for it. So the brand is Bane, and this is a tunic top with a 3/4 sleeve and an asymmetrical hem, which I didn't even know was so popular. And here's the tag. It's sewn on, so it doesn't have the tacked on tag that we always associate with more expensive items. The retail for Bane tunic tops is about $150 or more, depending on what they're made of. This was a stretch jersey knit. Was missing the material tag, but all of her tunic tops are stretch jersey knit. And so I listed this one in about the 1st of September, and it sold the 12th of October. So it took 42 days to sell. No, I'm sorry, it took 38 days to sell, but it sold for my full asking price of $42. So I just wanted you to be aware of that brand. I'm definitely going to be looking for it. My cost was $3.99. I got it at Goodwill, as I said, back about 6 weeks before I sold it. My net profit, and from now on, whenever I say my net profit, that means after fees and cost of goods. My net profit was $29.61, which is pretty darn good for me. Frequently, when I am asking, $40, $35, $40, $50, those things tend to take a little longer to sell unless they're super hot, in-demand items. And if things are over 100, they tend to take even longer to sell. So bread and butter is usually the fastest thing for me. But Bane, that was a great sale. Okay, this next item was a Pendleton wool zip tote I sold that for $75. This was a gift, a promotional gift from a place of business I frequent. You can fill in your blank and guess. It sold in 30 days. My cost was zero, of course, and it sold for my asking price of $75. So my net profit was $60. Of course, if you saw that at the thrift store, you would pick it up because it's a Pendleton wool tote in a very distinctive pattern, but I just want to share that one with you as well. Okay, the next fastest item to sell, this sold in 23 days. This is an Alishan cashmere cowl neck sweater. Here's the tag, Alishan. I'd never seen that brand before. It said 100% cashmere right in the neck, so of course. And it had a zip. Where was the zip? The zip was in the back. This is the back of the sweater. A full zip in the back. Interesting. But I paid $6.59 for that at Goodwill. And it sold in 23 days for $32. So my net profit was $19.31. In general, my goal is to be net profit of $15 or more. I figure that if I add all the tasks together, I can source, list, sell, ship an item for an hour. I've done timings of my various different tasks and added it up. And in general, total dealing with an item is 15 minutes from sourcing it. And again, that's rough. Some days you go and source for 2 hours and you find 40 items. And some days you go for 2 hours and you find 3 things. So it's an estimate. But $15 of net profit would put me at an hourly rate of $60 an hour, which is fabulous. So my goal is 15. But, frequently I sell things at a net profit of lower than 15. And this one was $19.31. Alishan cashmere. Okay, this item came in a ThredUp fun box. And so my cost, unfortunately, was $6.98 for that box because most of it was items I couldn't list. It was a garbage box. But I got this new with tags, little bikini top, an extra small. It was called the Crossback French Bikini. The retail on it was $75. And I sold it in 21 days for $17. My net profit was $4.60. That is the risk of ThredUp fun boxes. I did have one fun box where my net profit was about $190 because I got a lot of great things. But in this box, I only got a few things I could list. So not great, but it sold. The next item to sell, in terms of how long it took, this took 19 days to sell. This was kind of a sad story. I bought a cashmere cardigan and a tank. They came together as a set, and I paid $7.99 for it at Goodwill. And the cardigan was beautiful. It was open front, just basic, unstructured, just a beautiful basic cardigan. And with this tank top underneath, would have made a beautiful twin set, as they used to call them. But I discovered that the cardigan had several holes. One of them was like the size of my finger. This was hanging inside of it, and maybe when I did the inspection, that's why I didn't see the hole in the store. But for whatever reason, I put that in my cashmere box to lot up a bunch of holy cashmere and sell for a craft cutter on eBay. But I did list the tank, and after 19 days, it sold for $17. And my net profit was $5.61. So good thing that it came with the tank top because that saved it. So that was from Neiman Marcus. That was the only brand on it. I sold quite a few things that were Saks or Bloomingdale's or Neiman Marcus, and that was the only brand. So if they're quality materials, don't be afraid to pick those things up. Here is the next item, sold in 18 days. I got this at the Goodwill for $3, And it's a vintage flannel jumper, extra large. So I'll show you the name, but the name doesn't really matter. I think it was 220. Yeah, 220 collection. And it was just a great flannel jumper and great Christmas plaid, right? And so I used the words tartan, academia, and Christmas. And it was an extra large petite, but it sold in 18 days for well, my list says $19, but that says $18. Okay. And so my net profit was $11.40. A little bit less than I would like to get, but it sold quickly. Now I told you when this was in a haul video, this Cabie tank top, that I was shocked when I looked it up. I found this at the Goodwill outlet. My cost that day per item was 71 cents. And of course, you just look up the style number for Cabie, and then you can find the name called the Tropic Tank. And it's easy to check comps with either the style number or the name. And darned if the comps weren't amazing on this tank top. So I got it, 71 cents at the outlet. It sold in 18 days for $34. A tank top. And still, to this day, there are more of these sold than listed for sale. So I don't know if you'll ever come across it, but tropical, beachy, floral, vacation were the words I used, but I think the style number is what sold it. So I paid 71 cents. It sold in 18 days for $34. My net profit was $24.47. Yay. Here's a brand you should definitely be looking for. I had never found this brand until earlier this year, and now I have found it like 4 or 5 times. So I don't know if I was ignoring it. The brand is RLX Ralph Lauren, and it is the golf line. It was very easy for me to find just by Google searching these RLX Eagle women's golf pants. And I called them periwinkle blue. They didn't call them any color blue. They had a slim leg, stretch nylon. I paid $4.79 for these at Goodwill, and they sold in 16 days for $35. Had a lot of interest. A couple people sent me offers of like 20, which I ignored. Lately, I've been ignoring offers that I think are not even in the ballpark rather than declining them. But somebody bought them outright for $35 in 16 days, and my net profit was $21.18. So RLX in men's or women's, I recommend you at least look it up. Here is a pair of riding breeches or equestrian pants, whatever you want to call them. I paid $4.79 for these at Goodwill. They sold in 16 days for $25. And after the buyer received them, she came back. I had another pair in gray that I listed on the same day. And after she received her order, she came back and bought the gray pair. She sent me an offer of $25, which I accepted, and I sold them the gray ones to her. So she was very happy. 5 stars on that. So always, if you see riding breeches, they have usually panels of what looks like suede. Most of the time it's not suede. On the thighs and on the seat. If it covers the seat, they're called full seat breeches. If sometimes there's just panels on the inner legs to prevent the pants wearing out when they're riding and rubbing on the horse or on the saddle. So check out riding breeches. Not every brand is worth picking up. Carrots is the brand I find the most often, but this one was Dover. So curious to hear your experience with riding breeches. And I don't live in horse country by any means. I'm not in the West or the Southwest or in Kentucky or any place like that, but I think people enjoy horseback riding all across the country. The next item was a bundle sale to a friend of mine from the YouTube world. Thank you, Melissa. So this was a little measuring cup. I found 2 measuring cups, a 1/3 cup and a 1/2 cup, that were this little hedgehog shape. There's a better picture of it. And I listed both of them individually. So if somebody had bought this set at Anthropologie, they could replace the broken one, right? And Melissa picked that one up for $8. I paid $1.50, so my net profit was $4.90. I sold the 1/3 cup measure the same day I listed it for $10. And then this one went for $8 after 13 days. So very quick. I do enjoy finding fun things in the hard goods section. I don't do a lot in hard goods, but if something catches my eye, and it's Anthropologie, Pottery Barn, Restoration Hardware, Williams Sonoma, those kinds of kitchen things, Nordic ware, some of that can go well. You just never know what you'll find. Okay, this little smart wool hoodie has a story. I listed it in May, and I sold it for $30 on eBay, and the buyer returned it because it didn't fit. It sat for I listed it in May. I think I sold it in October, and she returned it in October because it didn't fit, and I relisted it, and it sold in 12 days, the second time for $34 instead of $30, and the buyer was very happy with it, got a 5-star rating. So again, people just really are worried about returns, and I offer free returns on eBay. If it doesn't fit, if you don't like it, if the color's wrong, any reason at all, just return it. And almost always it sells for the same price or more the next time. So you just never know. Sold it in 12 days. The second time, my net profit was $21.19. And the last item to sell in between a week and 30 days was another Cabie piece. Again, you got to be super careful with Cabie because a lot of it is nobody wants it or there's too much of it. But this was called the Dakota Poncho. Found a stock photo. That's what my photo looked like. I paid $6.29 for this at Goodwill. I sent an offer of $25, and that was accepted. So it sold in 10 days. My net profit was $13.71. I regret paying $6 for that. I don't know. I think I was probably shopping one day with no sale coupon. Okay, now we're going to move on to items that sold in a week or less. Here's a Title IX cable knit sweater, merino wool blend, an extra large, just, a great, it had this, I'll show you the hem here, kind of a folded high-low, not real high-low, just a few inches difference, but that I listed for, I think I listed it for $32, and Pasha VA sent an offer of $27 with shipping discount, and that was accepted. So it sold for $27 in 7 days. I have my Pasha VA set to send automatic offers to likers, but not for the first 48 hours. If something's hot, I want to give people a chance to pay full price for it, or send me an offer in the first 2 days. And then after 2 days, it sends out offers to likers. That does a couple things. It gives me a chance to sell it at full price. It gives me a chance to collect a few likes. And so the offer goes out to a bunch of people rather than just one person. And that's working pretty well for me. I know sometimes people say you have to send the offer while the person's still on the app. They like it, and then they get an offer right away while they still have their phone in their hand. But I prefer to collect a few likes, and I'm still getting sales, so who knows what the perfect method is. I paid $4.49 for this at Goodwill. Again, it sold in 7 days for $27 with discounted shipping. My net was $15.09. And so, of course, when I say net profit, that's including any shipping discount I gave and my cost of goods. This item sold, not that item. This item sold in 6 days. It's a Cabie blazer called the Outing Blazer. I'd actually sold this before last year in a size 16, and I sold that one for $30, so the price has come down a little bit. I paid $5.39 for this, and it sold in 6 days for $23. My net was $13.01. And so that was also the other one I sold was also a size 16, which probably helped the price a little bit. Next on my list, this Rag & Bone men's flannel shirt. This came in a Helpsy source box called the Men's Most Wanted Brands. My cost of goods for each item was $2.25 for that box. And I do pick up Rag & Bone at the thrift store as well. I hear people say, I hardly ever pick up Rag & Bone, but I bought this one. For men especially, I think Rag & Bone sells really well. So I paid $2.25 for this in a Helpsy source box. It sold in 4 days for an offer of $35, and I paid a shipping discount. My net profit was $23.73 on a gray flannel shirt. That's pretty good. Next item, this sold in 3 days. This is COS. I hear sometimes people say it's a higher end of H&M. It's not. It has, other than it's owned by the same company that owns H&M, COS is not associated with H&M. They're two different brands. One is not a higher end of the other. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to think of another company that owns two different unrelated brands, but they're both clothing companies, but COS and H&M are significantly different. So this is funny. This came in a Helpsy Source men's box, but it is a women's shirt. And they probably thought it was men's because the buttons are the other way. The buttons are like a men's shirt. And but some brands do that. Ralph Lauren is one brand that all their female items have men's side buttons. And this was the case as well. I actually found this shirt on the COS website, and I called it a capsule or minimalist shirt. Had this interesting detail. This is actually a pocket hidden with a button under that flap. And it's lyocell, but it looked kind of linen-y but softer. So anyway, I described the crap out of it, and I got $32 for it in 3 days. And I did offer a shipping discount. My net profit was $21.33. So I love selling COS, or COS, whatever you want to call it. So these jeans had nothing going for them other than their brand, and they still sold in 2 days. So this brand is cool. Here's their logo, that little mountain scene. And then the name is, sometimes it's script and sometimes it's this block lettering, but it's cool. These are the Dancer skinny jeans. They were even mid-rise. Can you imagine? I'll show you the picture. So they're mid-rise skinny jeans, and I still sold them in 2 days. Paid $6 for them at Goodwill, and I sold them for $27. My net was $15.21. So I made my goal of $15 profit, and I did it in 2 days. I love to sell cool, but I did not think that mid-rise skinny jeans would do that well. And I was very happy to find out they did. Here is one of the J. Crew things you should be looking for if you like to sell J. Crew, other than their blazers. So this says made with Liberty fabric. And by looking up the style number, I was able to find it's called the Josephine shirt. And it's Liberty of London makes beautiful, mostly floral prints in really nice cotton. And it's generally a more expensive, higher quality shirt if it says it has Liberty fabrics. So very feminine, cottage core kind of print. Not really a ditzy print, but a tiny little all over print. This sold in 2 days for $27, and that made my net $16.99. I accepted an offer on that one. Isn't that a pretty shirt? Habitat is a brand that I don't see other people doing. I think my friend Quenby's giving it a try. Habitat, clothes to live in. I try to get the larger sizes, but everything from t-shirts to things like this jacket usually sell quickly for around $25. I usually list in about $32, and I frequently get offers of $24 or $25. This sold in 2 days for $24. I paid $3.99 for it. My net profit was $15.21. So I don't know if you ever see Habitat or you like it, but nothing special about it other than there are people that like the way it fits and they like their styles. So it almost always sells within 30 days for me for about $25. And my number one fastest selling item on Poshmark in October was this Neiman Marcus extra large cashmere cardigan sweater. I called it a classic indispensable cardigan. It's just open front with a shawl collar and pockets. Here's the Neiman Marcus label, Neiman Marcus cashmere. I paid $4.41 for this at Salvation Army. It sold the day after I listed it for $40. So my net profit was $27.51. So those are my fastest selling items on Poshmark in October. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope it was useful. I would love to hear if you have a brand that you count on to sell quickly and what price range that's in. Is it bread and butter? Is it kind of a mid-range, nicer brand? Or are you lucky enough to sell luxury items fast? Generally speaking, the higher the price tag I put on an item, the longer it takes to sell. But you just have a smaller market, right? So I'd love to hear what brands you count on to flip quickly, or if you had a big surprise lately. Thanks so much for stopping in, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, kids.